Tampering or not, it's a 39-player transfer portal class for the Auburn Tigers. Zac Blackerby of Locked On Auburn Tigers is here. Who else would we talk to if we wanted the Tigers? Zac, it's like the number one Auburn Tigers podcast out there. Number one, numero uno. Yeah,
let's go.
Fantastic. Is Alex Golesh going to make Auburn number one with this 39-player transfer portal class? This is the new era of college football, right? I mean, I think about Oklahoma State, and they are now North Texas North, just in the Big 12, because they brought over all the most impactful guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess University of South Florida has become, Auburn's become University of South Florida North, I guess, at this point. But obviously headlined by several South Florida standouts from a year ago following Alex Golesh to the SEC. I mean, Byron Brown, the headliner, and all of this, and he's going to take snaps from his former center at USF. He's going to throw to former USF receivers Keyshawn Singleton and Jazz Nimrod and Jeremiah Coger, Christian Neptune, Corey Pettigrew. I mean, all these guys coming up from South Florida, and we've got several more that we may get to in this discussion. But yeah, that it is the new era of college football. And so Alex Golesh is very much a we guy. I was told early on from people who knew him, like when he got the Auburn job, is he's very much a, hey, we got the Auburn job, not I got the Auburn job and you're coming with me. And that is reflected by his staff that's come with him. And it's been reflected by his players who have chosen to follow him.
I think there have been a couple of portal losses for Auburn that have made fans go, oh man, didn't want to have. We know who the most obvious one is, of course, being Cam Coleman. Is there anything in your view to the idea of, hey, we needed a complete cultural reset because this has just not been a winning environment for way too long? And even if there were guys here that are really talented and capable on the field, it needs to be a completely fresh start.
Yeah. I don't know if you and I talked about this or not, but the first 10 to 15 folks that entered the portal, I think there was some frustration because these are former 4- or 5-star guys that are entering the portal and didn't really feel like they lived up to their expectations because the previous coaching staff, especially on offense, kind of held them back. I think the defensive guys were stellar, and a few of those guys did enter the portal and go elsewhere in the SEC. But I do think the mindset of the fan base shifted when Cam Coleman announced he was entering the portal. I think it went from a frustrated, like, I can't believe we're losing all these guys, to, you know what? If you don't want to be here, go somewhere else, which is the Alex Golesh mindset. That's what he said at his opening press conferences and all of that. So, I think that's kind of a tricky question as far as, how the fan base feels about it, because I do think there was a shift. And it happened when Cam Coleman entered the portal. Now I think Auburn folks are like, okay, if you don't want to be here, fine. Like, if you don't want to receive lots and lots of money to play football at Auburn in the SEC, get out of here. We'll get guys who want to be here. And I think that's exactly what they've done.
Is there a line in your view? I think this is probably an inflated class from a number standpoint because it's year one and he's bringing the guys from his previous stop and there's just been so much turnover, and there's an element of, well, you have to go out and bring in that many players because you just physically need bodies. Maybe it's not the most long-term talented roster they will have from, a number of NFL draftees standpoint. Is there a line in this class or in future portal classes for Auburn that makes you be a little wary of, are you leaning too heavily into it? And I think we have to just ignore the Indiana discussion, who, by the way, in the last couple of years have not brought in as many players as people might think, particularly ahead of their national championship season. I think the number was in the 20s or so, not going into the 30s, 40s. Some places have brought in 50-plus players. You look at what Iowa State's going to have to do. I don't even know who's going to play football at Iowa State.
Right. Yeah, they may be calling you or me at some point. Yeah, I mean, I think it's too early to tell as far as what his strategy is going to be. He's been asked that question, and he believes that you have to build through the high school ranks and then use the portal to kind of supplement, which is everybody's answer, right? As far as the year one strategy, I mean, there was a mass exodus. There were culture questions, and I think they just needed to build a roster. And I think the additions through the portal, I think it is a nice balance of guys who are built for this year. Senior quarterback, 5 seniors on the offensive line, senior defensive backs coming in. Like, I think that's kind of the balance of, okay, compete right away. But the core of this roster are the sophomores. Some of them are key guys who played last year for Auburn and excelled. Maybe were a little bit ahead of their time as far as developmentally. They looked really, really good as true freshmen, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And he brought a lot of his young guys from South Florida, as well as other positions coming in. It's like this true sophomore class, Spencer, is the core of this roster. They're going to be the engine that makes this thing go. And obviously with sophomores, they're going to be here for more than just next year. So I do think they did a good job of balancing that, hey, what can you do for me in 2026? And also, hey, what can you do for me after that?
You can take the Hugh Freeze out of the Auburn, but you cannot take the Hugh Freeze style quarterback move out of... Oh, I messed that one up. Anyway, the point I was
didn't
making
like where
here...
that was going from the get-go. I was very clear on that.
Yeah, so... Anyway, last year, Auburn brought in a West Coast backup quarterback in Ashton Daniels. He came over from Stanford, had a little bit of experience. Now they bring over...
Are you segueing to Tristan Tia right now?
I am segueing to Tristan Tia. That's what I was trying to do. It wasn't... It was more like Paul Blart on the segue there. It wasn't smooth, fluid, and perfect in every way.
But you did arrive.
I did arrive. I did. We have arrived at that spot. This is a curious addition to me. Yeah. And I say that because he might be still 2 years away from being a starting caliber quarterback in the SEC. He's not the only Beaver that they brought over either, but... What do you make of the Tigers quarterback room? Obviously, Byron Brown is starting this year. No questions about that. But right. When they added Tristan Tia, who's kind of a thin, wiry frame, 6'3", plenty of height, decent arm, doesn't have a lot of experience. Do you think Auburn has brought him in to be the quarterback of the future?
I think he's going to have an opportunity to. I think that's what was pitched to him. The addition of Tia is interesting because we kind of all got trolled by Auburn on the first day of the portal because they added a quarterback from South Florida, but it wasn't Byron Brown. It was Lachlan Hewlett, who's also a redshirt freshman, just like Tia is from Oregon State. And so we're like, not the quarterback from USF we were asking for, but we'll take him. It's interesting that they added 2 guys from the portal at quarterback that are the same class. I think it's a little odd. It's like, I don't know if Tia was like the most ideal QB2 target, but did play a little bit, showed glimpses of athleticism. Just, we didn't see much of it. So that's going to be a battle for QB2. I do think Tia is the favorite over Lachlan Hewlett. Like, look, this roster is Byron Brown or bust. Like, if Byron Brown goes down, I don't feel super great about the backup options. I do think it would be Tia from Oregon State, but yeah,
that'd be a big jump.
I'm with you. Curious addition. It would make more sense if Lachlan Hewlett was not on the roster.
Yeah, and it makes me think they have perhaps pitched to those guys, you two are going to battle it out, and those two bet on themselves and say, all right, well, if I can have a chance to start at an SEC school, crazier things have happened. I mean, who was in the college football semifinal this past year out of the SEC? Trinidad Chambliss. Yeah. Came from a lower level of football even than what Oregon State played this past year. I mean, their special teams were not even Division II caliber, but, they at least went against FBS teams, and Chambliss was able to make that jump. So crazier things have happened. You never know. I want to get you out of here on this, Zach, and I had this conversation on yesterday's episode of Locked on Ducks, and they only brought in 13 guys in the portal, and there are a couple no-brainer contributors for the Ducks in that class. When you've brought in 39 players, how right now are Auburn fans deciphering, aside from Byron Brown and maybe a couple of his top receiving targets, that guy's an impact player, that guy's an impact player, that guy's a depth piece, that guy's just happy to be in the SEC?
Yeah, I mean, I think hopefully that's all settled on the field, right? I mean, that's what spring is for. You build your team and you get ready for the season in the spring. And I think you're going to be able to push guys more and have truer battles now that spring portal window is gone. I think coaches can be more honest with themselves can be more honest with these players and can run drills and personnel that actually make your team better versus a year ago where you had to make everybody feel like they had a chance or they'd leave you. So, just talking about the quarterback position, like I think last year, if you want to keep Tia and Hewlett both on the roster, you have to make them both feel like they're QB2. Now you don't have to do that. You don't have to waste practice reps and invest in a different guy. And obviously that's the same for every position group. So, Auburn's bringing in a bunch of offensive linemen, for instance. As soon as, if in the second week that, all right, this redshirt freshman or this true sophomore isn't going to be part of the first 5, you don't have to act like he is anymore. You don't have to give those reps away just to make sure guys stay and don't enter the portal after spring, which I think is good.
Just for the Auburn fans out there, Jacob Strand, the offensive tackle from Oregon State, Canby High School. That is a Three Rivers League product right there, and I've been reliably informed that is the best high school football conference in the state of Oregon. I know because I competed against Canby my entire life.
Is he startable?
No, not right now. He's at least 1 year, maybe 2 away from being that. But I grew up maybe 20, 30 minutes from Canby High School. And I didn't know that he went there, and saw that when I was getting ready for the segment, went, oh, well, I got to shout out. Got to shout out Canby High School on here. I always enjoyed playing against Canby. Great folks. They're all right. Got a lot of those kind of farm boy type of vibes,
That's usually a good thing, especially for offensive line.
Yeah, very, very, very Wisconsin-esque is the way I'd look at it if I were an Auburn fan. Zac Blackerby is. He hosts Locked on Auburn and is the #1 Auburn Tigers podcast out there. And so we're just honored that he graced this show with his very presence. When I get back, I will tell you how USC makes the college football playoff.